So what is the chance of a father with this translocation in chromosome 21 and a mother with the normal genotype having a phenotypically normal zygote? So yeah, so Brian, this would be best drawn out. If you're able to draw this problem out, you would see how many initial different pairs there can be, and then which ones would allow the child to be phenotypically normal. That means they would have exactly one copy of chromosome 14 and one copy of 21. So here we have, this is a karyotype of the translocation. We have 2 of the 14 and 1 21. So we have 3 different chromosomes, and what are the chances of having the phenotypically normal one? Does someone want to explain how they drew it out or got the answer? Okay, if not, I can draw it out real quick.
According to Jack Wexton, they actually draw out the diagram when you click the solution.
Sorry, what?
When you click the solution, the answer.
Okay. Oh, it draws it out. Okay, let me do that then. Yep, so when we look at that, they're going to have one copy of 14 and 21, and these are the 2 14 chromosomes and 1 21. And then by going through all of them, there are 6 different pairs that we can have, and only 2 of them will be normal. So that's how we know that 2 out of 6 is 1/3. Does that make sense? Okay. Number 2, why are they only observed in, oh, sorry. Someone had a question. What are you confused on? Feel free to unmute yourself or type it out in the chat. Okay, so the mom is already normal, so we don't really need to worry about her because she's just going to give the normal genotype. However, if the father passes on the translocation and that is messed up, then the child is not going to be normal. So we just have to look at the father because he's the one with the translocation. So we can ignore the mom's genotype here. And that's why we only looked at the father and what are the chances of him passing on the right chromosomes, and that's just these 2 right here. I think someone is unmuted. Oh. What about you? Okay. Does that make more sense?
I think to help to clarify. So basically, on the NCQ diagram, the top 3, the picture on the top of the tree is showing the all possible gamete, and then you basically just like match each of them in different possible arrangement.
Exactly. So 21 here can be by itself. Oh, oops. It can be by itself, or it can be with this 14 right here, or then it can be with this 14. So we're kind of just like going and pairing them off. And then we're looking at which ones are going to be normal. And there's only 2 that are normal out of these 6. Okay, what about number 2? For question 2, what did you guys get? Okay, so it's asking why is it only observed in the acrocentric chromosomes? So the ones that have kind of that misalignment, or like the unequal segregation. So if we have non-acrocentric participation, that could happen to lead to something getting cut off totally. So if that happens, then we're going to lose a lot of the gene and the chromosome. So that's why it only happens with the acrocentric chromosomes. Does that make sense? And it's not because the other ones are larger or less likely to mispair. And we didn't really address the meiosis part of this for B. And then for D, we didn't talk about if the centromeres are more accessible. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Question 3. Which is not a negative effect of translocation? Okay, I'm seeing some Ds. Yeah, so which is not an effect of translocation. So translocation involves like the insertion of the genes. So if we're inserting something, it's just kind of exchanging the material between chromosomes. You're not deleting the entire chromosome. So that's why D is the answer. And the other parts can happen during a translocation. Okay, number 4. How many different gametes can the person whose karyotype is pictured here produce? So this is kind of related to question 1. If you did that diagram. Yeah, so if you do that diagram, you'll see that it was 6 different gametes using these chromosomes. Okay, moving on. Last question. Yeah, Brian, do you want to explain why you put C?
Because I put C because the translocation will be analyzed on the DNA sequence, DNA gene present on the chromosome, and for the PCR and the SOR plotting, they will basically analyze the specific sequence, and the PCR is basically just like generate a lot of the amplify the DNA sequence, and where DNA hybridization is used to find the specific sequence of the DNA. I'm not sure about that part. But basically, the created recombinant DNA is basically just swap the sequence of the DNA, which will be similar. Yes.
Perfect. Yep. So the recombinant DNA is similar since it's like involving insertion. And DNA hybridization is looking at how comparing the 2 pieces of DNA and seeing how similar they are. So it's not really like translocation. Okay, great work, guys. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to the CARS passage? Okay, if not, let's go over that passage. What did you guys think about the CARS passage? Easy? Okay, perfect. That's good. So paragraph 1 was talking about the fear of vaccines and how parents started fearing them. Paragraph 2, we are mentioned some politicians who kind of created more confusion and studies that didn't really have good claims. Paragraph 3 introduced measles and gave an example that although there is a vaccine for measles, it still kills a lot of people because some people don't take the vaccine. Paragraph 4 talks about how vaccination rates are falling and why that might be. And paragraph 5 talks about what we should be doing, how politics should be playing a role, or if not. So that's kind of what we discussed here. Anyone have any questions on the passage itself? Okay, if not, what did you guys put for 1? Why did we mention the World Health Organization and the measles? Yep, does anyone else want to participate? We have around 9 folks here. So feel free to put your answer in the chat, and that'll help everyone understand more. Yeah, so we can do this through just process of elimination. Why did we mention the measles? We definitely wanted to emphasize the vaccination and how we could have prevented that. And that's exactly what paragraph 3 is talking about. It wasn't really suggesting that there was global consequences or that there was a global disparity. It was trying to emphasize that we could have done more, and that's why those people died. Okay, number 2. What did you guys put for this? So why the author's discussion of individual choice, why was that mentioned? Okay, so we did talk about how the politicians are kind of framing the vaccine to kind of take advantage of that. We didn't really talk about the restricting the rise of the preventable diseases, and that's not what the individual choice is talking about. And it's not talking about the rights that can't be preserved without policies. We didn't address that many policies here. And we didn't talk about the rights being more important than our desire to vaccinate. Oh, sorry, is it paragraph 2? Individual choice. Okay, it might be paragraph 2 then. But yeah, I think the definitely answer points to A though, regardless. Okay, question 3. What did you guys get for question 3? So, oh wait, are we talking about, Brian, are you talking about 3 or 2?
Oh, for the question 2, I thought the answer could be found in the paragraph, first sentence in the paragraph 3, but I have no problem with question 3.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is very interesting. So which of the politicians is acting most consistent with the author's recommendations? So going here, the author kind of talks about what politicians should do. Politicians should be clear to the public on the proven science and should avoid muddying the waters further. And then it said it would be better for the candidates. She lost her credibility because of her statements on vaccines. And then So it basically is saying that they should either be clear on the proven science or just avoid muddying the water. So like, don't discuss it. So we're not really encouraging the parents to exercise their choice. That's not what she's saying. One that never mentions the issue of vaccination. This is also tricky because it kind of seems really extreme. So we'll keep it there, but we'll see. C, one that reaffirms what their voters already believe. The author doesn't say that. The author says that they need to be on the side of the science. And then one that argues for 0 exemptions from government required vaccination. So this part is really interesting because we are saying that they have to get vaccinated, but they shouldn't be forced to become vaccinated, as we talked about choice in this article, in this paragraph. So we can't really say that either. So that's why we're left with B, just because here, by avoiding the topic, you're not talking about it, you're not going to debate. So if you're not debating, the author also said that when you do debate, you like reiterate, you know, you're putting the vaccination as a question and you're talking about it more. So that's why it gives rise to like that information that vaccines are not good. Could you explain what you're asking about?
I kind of hesitate on B because I think if they're talking about so many people die because they choose about the vaccine, and they also talking about their claim is like groundless, and they should not be like unnecessary exemption. Would it
Yeah.
be suggest toward D instead?
Yeah, so it's really difficult because it's really hard to say that they wouldn't mandate vaccines, you know, like government required vaccination.
Because
Whereas,
because I felt B is kind of also tricky because they say they want to encourage people to get vaccine and they want to tell the proven science, but not talking about any negative effect, which I feel is kind of more like dubious.
right, so I'm trying to like find where in the passage they said it specifically.
I think the last sentence
Okay,
of the entire paragraph.
of the what paragraph?
Last paragraph, last
Oh, okay.
sentence.
Yeah, so unnecessary vaccine exemptions put our greatest asset, our children, at risk. I think, yeah, the only thing I can think of is this sentence. The author is really clear what she wants from politicians. They should be clear to the public on the proven science and should avoid muddying the waters further. So because so many people are talking about the vaccine, so many people are talking about the vaccines and relying on anecdotes. So people are just using the vaccine to gain publicity. So if you're not talking about it, you're not going to bring up the other information that people keep thinking that vaccines are not good and you're fearing them. So it's kind of saying that more you talk about it, the more people fear it. So if you don't mention it, you're not going to avoid muddying the waters further. We can also read the solution. Paragraph 2 characterizes the political debate as the dangerous mix of immunization, paranoia, and politics, emphasizes that vaccine safety. Okay. Paragraph. Okay, so clearly the author believes that vaccine safety should be a given and that debating the issue only gives rise to paranoia that is founded on false information. Thus, it would be consistent with this for a politician to simply not discuss the issue. The author never advocates for active political promotion of mandated vaccination beyond correcting the record about vaccination safety. Does that kind of make more sense? I don't think that the author really said that they should mandate vaccination, but I do see how a lot of people chose D because it does seem a little extreme to say never, but I think that does go best with the answer based on the passage, what we discussed. Let me know if that
Yes.
helps.
Yes, that help.
Okay. Sorry, if it's a little
yeah.
confusing.
Usually on the sometime on the NCAP, when the question is basically on one specific sentence in the entire passage, and sometimes I just could not help. I just could not find the word. What should I do in that case? Is there any strategy or tip?
Yeah, so here before I kept this answer, I actually eliminated the rest of them, right? So I think process of elimination is also the best one to go through. So we didn't really talk about encouraging parents. We didn't talk about reaffirming their voters. And we definitely, the author wasn't that extreme to say we need to mandate vaccination. She's just saying that politicians just need to be clear. Not that they need to make new policies about mandating vaccination. Make sense?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, what did you guys say for 4? Yeah, so we definitely talked about the politicians seeming kind of like talking about vaccines to get publicity. So that's like an opportunity for them. That's why C is definitely the best answer. Okay, number 5. Yep, so this we can definitely address through process of elimination. So recent decreases in vaccinations are largely due to politicians' dissemination of false information. That sounds okay. We didn't really talk about this politician, and that's the only reason it became a political issue. That's not the central assumption. There's no longer a need to research the effectiveness of vaccines. We didn't talk about that. And we definitely didn't talk about the public not being intelligent enough. So just by process of elimination, we can get A. Okay, what about 6? Yeah, Brian, do you want to explain this?
Because on the entire passage, it's basically talking about how the anti-vaccine is being manipulated by the politician, and a lot of the people is being panic about the side effect of the vaccine. But if you are mentioning about the vaccine being too expensive, then there will be the reason that people not getting a vaccine instead of they believe in their manipulation.
Right. Exactly. So if the national program of vaccines ended because it was too expensive, that is going against the politics of vaccine safety. So it's not because of politics that the rates were dropped, right? So it's not strengthening it. Oh, so we can delete those. And then it's definitely weakening it. And we can't say that the role places have conservative views. So it's definitely because the drop in vaccinations can explained by having less vaccines. So that would make the most sense here. Anyone have any questions? Okay, if not, I'm going to give you guys one more passage to do, and we'll go over that then. So please do this passage, and I will check in again around 10 minutes or so. Let me know once you guys have gotten it, and I'll start the timer. Okay, go ahead and start. Let me know once you're done in the chat. Okay, great. So how did you guys find this passage? So this was just a basic pedigree, and they described us some of the symptoms and how to tell. Does anyone have questions on the passage itself? Okay, if not, in figure 1, how can we tell who is Sandy? What do you guys think? Yeah, perfect. B. Brian, do you want to share how you got that?
Because based on the description on the last sentence, they're talking about the Sandy has a grandfather and also have passed away grandfather due to the condition, and the mother that also had the condition. So we can eliminate the first top row on the pedigree. And since this is a female, so we will narrow down to the two branch of the tree on the left. And then they mentioned his sister has a healthy son, so he must have a daughter instead. So there will be B.
Yeah, perfect. Does everyone understand that? The correct answer is B. Yep. Thank you for that explanation. Okay, what about number 2? Okay, interesting. So does anyone know the meaning of variable expressivity?
It's basically talking about the different level or wide range of spectrum that people can express the trait, such as if some people are black, some people are brown, and some people are completely white in the skin color. If they turn out to be a genetic trait of a condition.
Exactly. So it's saying like some people with the same genetic condition can have different signs and different symptoms. So why can that be caused? Okay, it's not because they have different mutations. It's the same mutations. It's just causing the mutations on this gene is causing the protein to misfold. If they do grow up in like different genetic and environmental factors, that can contribute to the disease's phenotype. And that's why they might have different signs and symptoms. It's not because incomplete dominance. Otherwise, we would be seeing, what was the question?
I was a little bit confused on A because in the paragraph they say on the second sentence they say mutations in the plural form. So would it be like a different kind of a mutation evolve on that gene?
Are you talking about here, patients?
The first paragraph, second sentence.
Oh, okay. Mutation then.
Toward the end they say mutation on the FBN gene caused the protein to dissolve. But are they using a plural? So could it be like they have different kind of mutation?
No, I think no, that's not what they're trying to say. It's not different mutations. It's because they have different, like the mutation might be the same, but the way it's expressed might be different because of the different genetic factors and how they live in an environment, and it might contribute to that. Does that help a little bit?
I feel B is kind of too general because like a lot of the conditions such as diabetes or cancer, they can all talking about like they have
Yeah.
genetic and environmental component. I feel it's hard to infer based on the passage.
Right. I think it helps because they're saying her mother, like she was tall and had long fingers, but she didn't have other things, you know. Whereas her niece, she had a heart murmur. The father, her father was fine, and her brothers were very tall and had something else too. So it's all like really dependent on the environment and like all the genetic components that are interacting with that gene. So that's what it's trying to say, I think. Does anyone else have a better answer? So we can try to explain why. But it's definitely not it's not incomplete because and penetrance is referring to if they have the disorder at all. So we can definitely cross that off. And incomplete dominance, does anyone know what that means versus complete?
The incomplete dominant is basically like the best example is the pink flower from the gene of red gene and white gene. They both contribute into the condition. And the incomplete penetrance is basically like everybody have the gene, but people have the condition, some people don't.
Exactly, yep, that makes sense. So does that make sense why B is the answer here? So it's referring to how the genotype is expressed. So sometimes there might be different factors to it, like they might have all the same genes, but it's expressing itself differently in each person. We can talk about this after the session as well. Okay, what did you guys put for 3? Okay, cool. So it's not mitochondrial because that means it's passing from the moms and the X-linked gene. So we don't see that. It's not X-linked recessive because then all the males would have it passed down from their mom. So it is one of the autosomal diseases, but is it dominant or is it recessive? How do we know that? Does anyone know? Exactly. So it's appearing in almost every generation, and with then a half 50-50 probability. So here we had it, and next the daughter has it, and then the daughter passed it on to her family, and at least 2 of her children have it. So And then after that, the son passed it on to one of his children. Yeah, exactly. So we're not skipping any generations. So that means it's dominant. Okay, number 4. Yep. Do you want to explain how you got the answer?
Correct me if the method is wrong, but basically you will first draw a Punnett square, and you will see that the Sandy sister must be a heterozygote.
Mm-hmm.
If they have the gene, but they did not express the mutation, they probably have a heterozygous. Although I not quite understand like why this one might be conflicting to the previous question. But you will find out they have the 50 chance of the passing down to their children. And then independent possibility rule, basically you will just multiply the 80% with 50%. So you will got 40%.
Yeah, that's perfect. So what Brian was saying, that she has a 50% chance of passing it on to her children with the 80% chance of penetrance. So that would bring us to 40%.
I kind of a little bit stuck on this one because if the previous question say they are dominant, which mean if they have the gene, they must be like a kind of have the condition. I feel this one is contradicting with this question, the previous question and this question.
Yeah. So now they're saying that she does have it. So they didn't circle it in here, but now they're saying she does have it. Does that make sense? Like if they were to fix the pedigree, they would circle her in.
Oh, I see. So it's kind of like if this is a possibility.
Yeah. But now they're saying that she does have it, but this is not on the pedigree right now. Okay, last question. So which symptom would you not associate with this syndrome? So it said this syndrome affects the ocular, skeletal, and cardiovascular systems. So I feel like the only thing that would fit into that would be the tight joints, that it would not be affected. Does that make sense? Because you can have the joints are likely to dislocate, and then you can definitely have the mitral valve leakage with the cardiovascular system. And then we talked about the fingers being tall and long. Okay, perfect. Does anyone have any questions on these? We still have some time, so if anyone wants to discuss anything MCAT related, talk any strategies, I'm happy to stay here. I can stop sharing pause the recording, but thank you to all who came today, and I hope this was helpful.